as I'm speaking, 2025 is coming to an end. And 2025 has been quite the turmoil year, both for me personally and for the world at large. For instance, this is the year in which I think I've made the least number of EAS scenarios up until this point, which, if I look correctly at my files, is going to be, and then search for EAS, is exactly one that I have finished this year. There is one in the works, but it's going to be finished next year. In addition, I also had a cyber attack on the TOE to deal with, and some timing issues, particularly related to exams and tests, that sometimes made it harder to make a video. And that's practically that. Because unlike last year, there has been no attempt at trying to find a new home for myself. I'm not really thinking about that for the moment, because I quite like the place I live. I've lived here for over a year on my own, and in total, my entire life. Ever since I was born, I lived right in this house. Fortunately, however, for me personally, this has been quite a growth moment as well, including digital painting using a drawing tablet, and physical painting using a canvas and a needle. Actually, the first time, well, maybe it's not exactly the first time that I've used real paint on a canvas, but it was definitely the most fun over at Buitenkunst. I haven't really talked about that, but other than that, well, yeah. There is also quite a lot to talk about when it comes to the whole rest of the world. After I've also told that I think this year is definitely the year with the most train spots I've had ever, including 2 at a level crossing that I haven't uploaded yet. And the year I set up my little website over at Vijfsnippervijf.neocities.org. But the world had seen a lot. We've seen Donald Trump getting a second term. We've seen the NATO summit in The Hague. And we've unfortunately seen a lot of conflict. Sudan has just been started by the RSF of Saudi Arabia and against Sudanese resistance forces. We have a conflict between Cambodia and Thailand about a border dispute, and of course the war in Ukraine and the genocide in Gaza are still going. In fact, I've actually made a video about that. So there has been quite a lot worth talking about, and I did. In fact, this is the first time I've ever made a proper behind the scenes video for my channel, just showing how exactly videos like this one are being made. So yeah, there has been quite a lot of change in what I do compared to last time, and I hope the same is going to happen in 2026. Minus all the conflicts in the world, of course. I really hope for a more peaceful place to be. So let's actually go through some of the highlights of 2025 in my YouTube channel history. So apparently during the inauguration of President Donald Trump, Elon Musk, aka Elmo, aka the son of a I made a video about before, has given a Hitler salute to the public and to Donald Trump himself.
It's the new norm.
The new norm ain't the same as the old norm.
The master method to detect AI-generated vocals is that there's no rhyming at all. Humans can rhyme, they don't always do so, but if you hear a robotic voice together with a complete lack of rhyming, or perhaps the same word twice, in which case the computer thinks that that's rhyming, it's probably AI generated.
Transitioning to what?
Another fumble! Hopefully not a Jets fan.
Did you catch that, by the way? One of the very few attempts at trying to make an actual joke. Hi, so apparently I've got some pretty nice comments on an older video of mine about the coronavirus pandemic. So let's talk again about a recent event. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about the cyber attack on the TOE and other institutions that has affected me personally in a fairly grave way. Hi, so it was a couple of days ago, as of uploading this video, that I have talked a little bit with some of my friends about being bullied about who I was. So partly that was about my skin colour. This is about the other part that I was very often bullied about, which is either hatred, plain hatred, or misunderstanding of non-binary gender identity. So let's talk a little bit about the truth behind the binary. That is, of course, before much of anything else in this video, including my own experiences. And I'm going to be using this little drawing pad and Inkscape to make some drawings that are going to explain this, rather than physical paper, because, yeah, I wanted to be able to finish this kind of quickly. And, you know, it's a great way to tell the story. So I'm going to switch over to my simple screen recorder and see what happens. So let's talk about the gender binary and things that exist outside of it, aka the non-binary gender identity. And we're going to say, you know, for starters, that some idiots like Donald Trump think that there are only two genders, male and female. This is not only hate speech in of itself, because it basically negates the existence of non-binary people, but this also typically comes with transphobia by saying that these genders are immutable, so that you, and sometimes even anti-feminism by saying that the genders each have their own role. So according to conservative idiots, or at least some idiots, we have a group of men and a group of women. I'm drawing them in the opposite order here, and there's a clear and distinct separation between them, like this. So let's just call this the conservative view. Okay, so with that, I'm going to delete that and talk about a more inclusive view instead, by saying that there are three areas in which gender exists. So we have gender as in biological sex, which is the sexual characteristics and chromosomes that one has. We have gender identity, which is the psychological and sociological interpretation. In other words, who you are in your mental or true identity. And we have gender expression, which is exactly what it says it is. So let's draw the first square for biological sex and remove the fill and instead have a line color, because you're going to see this coming, but this is going to be a Venn diagram. Okay. With that mentality of the Venn diagram in, I'm going to make a circle of men and, oh, yeah, let's see if the right order this time, and a circle of women. Now, due to the opaqueness setting, it's also a fact that these are not squares but circles. You may notice, as I'm moving things around, and even then, that there is an overlap and a space, which is people of neither male or female sexual characteristics. Both of these cases are kind of rare, and they're referred to commonly as intersex. So let me label these up. Yeah, not always is my keyboard really working that well, so, but here we go. So I'm going to change the drawing a little bit in multiple ways. So kind of gets weird when you're filming something, even if it's just on a computer, but there we go. Notice that there's still an overlap. This I'm going to label gender identity. In other words, how one experiences gender at all. Now watch out. Biological sex is dividable into three real categories: male, female, and intersex. But with gender identity, we are all of a sudden looking at a spectrum. So let's fill in a new square, which is going to exemplify that spectrum. So let's see how I do this. I'm going to pink on the left and blue on the right. Okay, we've got a bit of an issue there. Okay. Just going to be solving this off camera for the moment. Here I am again with the recording, and as you can see, there is a spectrum. So on the left side is masculinity, on the right side is femininity, and I'm going to draw some lines, indicate, and basically that is pretty much everywhere where these circles overlap or a person exists outside of these. So that is the spectrum of people. So the vacation started with cycling to Driebergen and Rijsenburg and Zeist, and having several round trips over there until we got the correct way. Apparently my mum was using an old map to the Henschotermeer. On nearby campsite we stayed that day, as well as during a couple earlier bicycle vacations, all the way since 2014 when we got started. However, on the way it started raining and we had to seek shelter below a tree, which is not ideal. Despite that, we were able to arrive and spend the night at the campsite. And then this is the last day we had in the Netherlands, in 's Heerenberg. And over there we stayed at a friend of my mother for about 2 nights, and we did the laundry. And the day after we arrived, we went to a castle, 's Heerenberg. From there we took a little walk through the little village and came across a plaque for the last person to have ever been convicted for witchcraft. And then in general we just explored around the old town and a pair of churches. I don't really have any photo of it, but we did cross into the German border and the town of Emmerich as well. And well, then all of a sudden we were back home and I had to prepare for and then take 2 resits, one of which I passed, and the other one, despite having done my best to prepare for it, failed. But that wasn't the problem. I didn't know it at the time. I thought both of them went alright. But then, after those, almost immediately after, we went for a second small bicycle vacation, a week to the coast. Of course, this trip started from home as well, and we went straight to Katwijk aan Zee. Well, not straight away, via a couple of small villages along the way. And not 1, not 2, but 3 ferries that we took on the last way to the coastal village. On the way we cycled quite closely to Amsterdam and came across a very interesting lock that actually had to close a pedestrian gate to open. In general, the cycling trip was quite beautiful. Even once we arrived there, we had a little rain trip in Katwijk. And the day after that, we went to Wassenaar for the Wassenaar voor Linden Museum of Modern Art. And the day afterwards, we went into the beach of Katwijk itself. I actually took course, not everything made it into a video. For instance, I really could have made a video about Project 2025 from Donald Trump and his accomplices. I could have made a video detailing some of the smaller little changes I've got to my setup here, including replacing the record player, replacing the iPad, and maybe some other things I wanted to do. And apparently You know, maybe the current state of Russia versus Ukraine could be a good topic, but I haven't seen too much about beyond just fluff pieces. Yeah, so that is that. Now, I don't exactly know what I'm going to do next year, but I can give you some guesses. For instance, I've actually started working on the script for the ES Scenario Holiday Heist. And you can find more information about that on the YouTube ES Scenario page I have about both myself and that scenario. Other videos I really wanted to make before February, so before the scenario goes out, about Project 2025 and what Donald Trump really wants to do for the US and what they are doing at the moment. I'm going to be making a setup upgrade video, or update video actually. Not really going to be a huge overhaul, just some small little changes here and there. I'm going to be making a video about the current status, of certain wars in the world, like Russia, Ukraine, Palestine and Sudan. And finally, I have some videos of a level crossing where I've done some train spotting, and I really wanted to upload those as well. So again, these are not really hard plans, but more like little predictions of what I'm going to do within the next year in January and February. So yeah, I really wish you all a happy new year, and I really hope that you enjoy my videos coming forward, and maybe if you haven't subscribed yet, you'll do so. It really means a lot to me. So see you next year. Bye bye.